She was 19 years old when she dropped out of Stanford University. She had an idea, a device the size of a shoebox that could run hundreds of medical tests from a single drop of blood. No needles, no laboratories, no waiting days for results. Just instant diagnostics available to anyone, anywhere. If it worked, it would transform medicine forever. It did not work. It never worked. And according to prosecutors, she knew that. Her name was Elizabeth Holmes. And for more than a decade, she convinced some of the most powerful people in the world to believe in a technology that existed largely in presentations, demonstrations, and promises. Elizabeth Holmes was born on the 3rd of February 1984 in Washington, D.C. She grew up in a family that valued achievement, education, and ambition. From an early age, Holmes spoke openly about wanting to become a billionaire. Not famous, not influential. A billionaire. In 2003, at the age of 19, she left Stanford and used money intended for tuition to start a company called Theranos. The vision was extraordinary. Most blood tests require blood drawn from a vein using a needle. Holmes claimed Theranos had invented a machine capable of performing hundreds of tests using only a tiny drop of blood from a fingertip. Patients could receive results in hours rather than days. Rural communities could access sophisticated diagnostics. It was exactly the kind of idea investors dream about. And Elizabeth Holmes understood something critical. People do not invest in technology. They invest in stories about the future. This is the first psychological principle behind the Theranos story. Mission disables scrutiny. Holmes rarely spoke about profit. Instead, she spoke about mission, purpose, saving lives. When someone frames their work as a moral cause, questioning them feels uncomfortable, even selfish. The people who bought into the story were not inexperienced investors. The Walton family, Rupert Murdoch, Betsy DeVos, former secretaries of state, former senators. At its peak in 2015, Theranos was valued at $9 billion. She became the youngest self-made female billionaire in America, and the technology still did not work. Inside Theranos laboratories, a very different reality existed. Many tests were actually being run on conventional laboratory equipment manufactured by other companies. Samples were diluted. Processes were concealed. Employees raised concerns internally. Some left. Others were bound by strict confidentiality agreements. And some of those results were dangerously inaccurate. People were incorrectly told they might have serious illnesses. Others received false reassurance that everything was normal. Charles Ponzi stole money. Bernie Madoff stole money. Elizabeth Holmes endangered lives. The second psychological principle is one of the most powerful forces in modern business. Silicon Valley celebrated founders who promised the future before they could fully deliver it. In that environment, bold promises were not seen as warning signs. They were seen as leadership. Then came October 2015. John Carreyrou revealed that the revolutionary machine was not revolutionary. But Holmes did not retreat. She went on television. She called the allegations false. She doubled down. This reveals the third psychological principle. Social proof can overpower evidence. Investors saw famous board members. Employees saw famous investors. Everyone concluded that someone else must have done the verification. The credibility became self-sustaining, until it wasn't. The trial began in August 2021. Holmes's defense argued that she genuinely believed in the technology. She argued she had been influenced by Sunny Balwani. She argued that she never intended to deceive. On the 3rd of January 2022, Elizabeth Holmes was convicted of conspiracy to defraud investors. She was sentenced to 11 years and 3 months in federal prison. On the 30th of May 2023, she reported to a federal prison camp in Bryan, Texas. Her projected release date is December 2031. But the story has one final chapter. In early 2026, Holmes filed a request seeking presidential clemency. The woman once celebrated as the future of healthcare is now attempting to regain her freedom. How does someone convince the most connected people in America to invest in technology that does not work? The answer is that Elizabeth Holmes understood something profound about belief. People rarely evaluate stories in isolation. They evaluate them through the people who already believe them. If everyone believes, then believing feels safe. Did Elizabeth Holmes know from the beginning? Or did she begin with a genuine vision and slowly become trapped inside her own story? The most successful deceptions are not the ones that fool everyone else. They are the ones that eventually fool the person telling them. Next week on The Criminal Blueprint, he convinced them he was a spy, not just one person, not just for a month, for years. He took their money, their freedom, and their entire sense of reality. Robert Freegard, the man who convinced people he was a secret agent.